Too often business owners today are focusing on the little things in business. They're ordering supplies, dealing with employees, and dealing with customers, when what we should be focusing on is the most important thing, cash flow. I've grown over 10 businesses from the ground up. In this podcast, you'll learn the ins and outs of building a business and how to build transferable value. And most importantly, you'll learn how to maximize cash. They call me Cash Flow Mike, and this is the clear path to cash. Hey, it's Cash Flow Mike, and welcome to the Clear Path to Cash podcast. And today I'm going to be joined by Jeff Watson of Packmule BBQ. By day, Jeff works in corporate America, but his true passion is food. And specifically, I'm talking about barbecue. And I had the opportunity to indulge in Jeff's cooking. And I've learned that he's created a seasoning that is part of the secret to his food tasting just so darn good. And Jeff, welcome to the Clear Path to Cash podcast.
Hey, Mike, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Hey, man, I tell you what, I'm super excited. And it's no secret that people dream all the time about starting a business, well before they even get started, right? They're thinking about it. They're in their day job. They have something that they want to do that just kind of excites them. And they have that idea and maybe some resources to get it off the ground, especially while they're employed somewhere else. So in essence, what they're doing is they're picking up a part-time job while they're still working full-time. In that part-time job, and I hope this is your case, that you hope that it becomes a business that fuels your dreams, and you call that the side hustle, right? So I look at you as being part of that side hustle community. But the problem is with that is that sometimes it's more difficult than it looks. So what I want to do is spend some time with you today and talk about how you got there. What was the decision-making process? What's been some of your challenges? And where's the decision to where I get out of full-time America or corporate America and do this full-time? But first, hey, before I get that, I got to remind people, and I know I just cut you off, but I got to remind people, hey, go to cashflowmike.com for all the show notes and any links that we mentioned, the websites and things like that. You can go to YouTube and search for Cashflow Mike and subscribe to our channel. And make sure that you hit that bell button to be notified of any of the future episodes. And of course, if you don't want to look at us on camera, you can just hear us on the podcast on iTunes or Spotify or Google Play. Always subscribe and leave a review. So, Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you, buddy. Tell us about Packmule BBQ and how did you get started?
Sure, absolutely. So let me go back just a little bit in that years ago when I first started cooking, as we all do, back in 20s and 30s, I was horrible. I couldn't cook anything, burned everything. It was pretty pathetic. My kids would run and hide when I would cook. So it was time for me to learn. It was time for me to learn to do some cooking. So about 20 years ago, I had a buddy of mine who taught me how to cook. He taught me how to cook brisket and ribs. And so the last 20 years, it's just been a process that I've gone through in trying to cook different types of barbecue. Never really had any aspirations to make it into a business, but about 2 years ago, I was walking out the door one day, and my wife, as she has a tendency to do sometimes, loaded me up with a bunch of stuff. Where we're going, ice chests, and this plate of food and that plate of food and all this kind of stuff. And so as I was walking out, I told her, I said, I'm just your pack mule. That's all I am. And so time and time again, we go to the beach, we go to the lake, we just go out and constantly you're carrying, just ice chests and chairs and tents and everything else. So that just became a theme between me and her, and it was a lot of fun. And so as we continued on, we started thinking about, hey, that would be a really fun way, to make some money, is basically start a barbecue company, primarily seasonings and things like that, with the name Packmule. And there's actually a deeper theme behind Packmule, and it really is something I hope will spawn as the company grows. And that is, we want to be able to take a portion of the proceeds from what we sell and donate it back to organizations that sponsor or help kids without dads. It's just always been a passion of mine, and that's really kind of what started Packmule on the track that it is. It really started as a way to try and help other people, and
Wow.
primarily children. So as time progressed, we started looking at our options, and naturally, one of the things that happens when you start selling barbecue is that people want you to cook for them. And so we started doing a few caterings here and there, and then about 3 years ago, we got involved in the San Antonio Barbecue Cook-Off, and
Okay.
that's really our big event. That's where we go to promote the name, promote the brand, and again, coming up the end of January is the next cook-off. So we'll be there, with our trailer and our products and a few sponsors that we have, and try to compete with about 250 other teams.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so that piece of the business, that piece of it is primarily just to sponsor or to promote Packmule. It's not necessarily something we want to do long term.
Mm. You gave me a lot right there to just chew on and kind of dig into. I mean, the first is the term pack mule. I know in my life I've been a pack mule. I mean, for everybody. I mean, I think even yesterday I was a pack mule. When
Absolutely.
it comes down to it. The other thing is that you we're talking about your passion, right? Because I talked to a lot of small business owners, and you don't always get into a business because of the money. There's always something. Maybe it's a cause, and it sounds like that's one of your driving passions is the cause
Yes.
behind it, which is helping children without dads. And that's just you don't hear that a lot, but my gosh, it's so important in society to be able to provide that assistance and provide that help. I mean, it's just fantastic. Now, you and your experience in cooking, I didn't realize I was a bad cook until I now hear my adult children talk about when mom wasn't there to cook and what I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
so,
I'm with you.
so, that's really good. So, I guess your next thing is part of your marketing strategy, because when you think about it, you're in a industry where no matter where you go, convenience store, a grocery store, there's a lot of seasonings or a lot of things that I can choose from. What's your strategy? How are you going to get the consumer's attention?
Yeah. So one of the things that I see, and of course we're all on social media all the time, but very rarely do you see anyone promoting any type of barbecue rubs or seasoning or sauces through social media. I mean, I
Okay.
don't, and
Hmm.
I don't spend a tremendous amount of time on it, but I see enough to know that I think there are some strategies that we can take advantage of. For example, one of the things that we want to put together is a kind of like a jelly of the month club, except with barbecue.
Yeah.
So once every 2 months or once every 3 months, we want to be able to send people out a rub and maybe a sauce or maybe a couple rubs for different types of meats. Maybe a brisket, maybe a chicken, maybe one for rib, maybe one for pork butt. But start that monthly recurring revenue, because that's really what we're looking for. Is we're looking for the monthly recurring revenue.
Sure.
And so when you have subscriptions, that's, if you look today, more and more and more, you see folks that are trying to sell a product, and then behind it is the monthly recurring revenue. You know,
Right.
with
Right.
blades, for shavers, even filters for your refrigerator, filters for your house, all those things. It's repeat customers, right? So that's one of the strategies that we have. But the other obviously is to go into retail. So we're trying to develop some strategic relationships with some folks that are already in some of those locations that have offered to help us go get into those facilities and or those stores to sell our product. But the challenge that we have up this point in time is, because I do have a full-time job, it's been tough to allocate the time required to develop the recipes and the branding and all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. But we'll get there. It's just taking some time.
All right, that's interesting. All right, so it sounds like you have a complete product lineup. What is that? What can I expect from Packmule Barbecue? What are the products you have?
Sure. So the products that we'll be selling are primarily rubs. So we'll have a brisket rub, we'll have a chicken rub, we'll have a pork rub, we'll have some specialty rubs, and then we're also wanting to develop I don't know that I would say a clothing line, but certainly T-shirts and caps. And to follow the theme of Packmule, eventually what we want to do is we want to sell products that help dads carry stuff, like
Okay.
like maybe coolers or coolers with big wheels on them, or backpacks or things like that. So
Sure.
long term is develop a product line that is geared towards helping, and it could be single moms. It doesn't matter. The thing is that make their life simpler when they're trying to get all that stuff from point A to point B.
Okay. So, there's probably a lot of people out there says, okay, it sounds like you're pretty far along. I mean, how long you been doing this, trying to put this together?
About a year and a half.
Okay.
The biggest challenge that we've had is we have to get our website done, social media done, things like that, and it's just taking some time. Obviously, I'm bootstrapping everything as I go. There's been some delays. Some of those delays have just been me. When you have a full-time job that's providing, it's paying your bills, that's where a lot of your time and effort has to be pointed. So although we want to get this off the ground, we have to make sure that we take care of our primary responsibility. But long term, we'd like for this to be our primary source of income. But I expect it to take probably another year, quite frankly, for us to get it up and running.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, and when you say up and running, you mean being sales and marketing and open to the consumer on
Absolutely,
a larger
absolutely.
basis. So,
Yeah,
what,
I'm hoping to get the website launched within the next 3 to 6 months, and we really have been working on it forever. I mean, it's just taking some time. A part of it obviously is trying to find the right people to help you with a project,
sure.
because as finding the right person that has that creative skill that can do the things that you want to get done is important. Now you can hire advertising agencies and various different companies to help you, but they still require a lot of your input in order to get something done. And what I'd rather do is just have a conversation like I'm having with you, find somebody that's creative enough to be able to take the ball and run with it.
Good. All right. Hey, they're out there.
Yeah, there are,
they're
absolutely.
definitely out there. So,
Yeah.
hey, I've got to tell you, I mean, so you're right now looking at the manufacturing side, the product creation side. You're getting all of your, I guess just your infrastructure built right now in order to go out to market.
Yeah, so we have a company that we're working with right now that initially we'll give them our recipes and they'll package it for us. And they're
Okay.
a very, very well-known, reputable spice company, been in business for years and years and years. And they will take our recipes, bottle them, put our label on them, and we're done.
All right. So, I mean, so you kind of bypassed the manufacturing yourself and
Yeah,
outsourced it,
that's
I mean,
right.
which is good advice to somebody that's listening right now saying, hey, you don't have to go in your garage and build a lab,
That's
or
right.
build a
That's right.
manufacturing,
That's right.
there's resources out there for you to do that.
Exactly.
What surprised you so far? What surprised you?
I think just the amount of time that is required to get it up and running, and all the pieces and parts that have to take place. It's not an easy process. When you go in to build a website, for example, you think you can build a website and put yourself in business, but it's not that easy.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to have your all your design on your websites. You've got to have the social media obviously tied into it for Facebook or Instagram or whatever the case might be. The different products that you're going to do, the SKUs, tie those into an inventory, building an inventory, and especially when you talk about T-shirts and caps and things like that. So it's just there's a lot more to it than I initially had thought. I mean, I knew it was going to be involved, but it's pretty involved.
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially when you talk about multiple SKUs as you're talking. Hey, I want to remind people that they can go to cashflowmike.com and get all the show notes. They can subscribe to us on YouTube as well as iTunes or Spotify. And I kind of want to finish up with you. I've got a couple more questions. Of course, about what you and what you're doing. I called it a side hustle, right? And a side hustle meaning it's just something I'm doing on the side of my full-time job, trying to get it going. Maybe I make a little money, maybe I'm not. But it sounds like it's something that you want to do full time. Tell me, how do you make that decision? when do you know it's right?
Well, part of it has to do with obviously the income side of it. It has to be generating enough income for me to walk away from what I'm doing today. The other thing is I'd like to be able for it to generate enough income long term for me to be able to hand it off to somebody as well. Maybe a daughter, maybe a son, whatever the case might be.
Sure.
But as far as walking away from what I'm doing, it's got to be able to generate income to do so. And so that's why we've taken a look at a couple of other opportunities as well with Packmule. One is a mobile party trailer, where we have basically a horse trailer that we have converted into a party trailer. And
Okay.
so we send that out with what we call the party pack, which has tables and chairs and all that kind of stuff. And so it's just finding other ways to generate income utilizing the Packmule brand. And I think that's how we'll end up having to do it. But at some point in time, when the income reaches a certain level where we can, sustain, what we're doing today with my current job, then we'll try to make that move. But we want to make that move.
Okay. So it sounds like, I mean, at least the first part of your strategy is to compete locally, right? With this party pack. I mean, maybe getting the product out at the various shows or competitions, things like that. And that's what they've always said. If you want to compete against Walmart, and I talked to you earlier about, the vast array of competition that you have. If you want to compete against Walmart, you have to start local, right? You got to kind of own your own market and just beat them, at your own little spot. I love the fact that you're coupling, other assets that you have. That's something that I teach in the Clear Path to Cash is, being able to use underutilized assets to integrate with your brand, to be able to bring more money into your business without, distracting you, right? I mean, it's still creating your brand awareness. And I still think that you can add into your party pack the seasonings, right?
Yeah.
If I get the horse trailer and I get the the tables and everything else, hey, by the way, here's all the seasonings you need for your barbecue.
Sure. So, yep. So we'll do a lot of that promoting at the cook-off as well. So that's a good venue for us.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, here's the question I ask everybody at the close of the show, right? Let's imagine your best friend was going into business. He sat down with you, maybe on your back deck, and he's talking to you about starting a business. What advice would you give him?
I would say sitting down initially is think through the entire process from start to finish. Where is it that you want to start, but what's more important, where do you want to finish? Because I think so many times people jump into a business thinking it'll be fun, thinking it's a good way to maybe make some money, but they don't really think about all the pieces and parts that have to go into place. Putting together an LLC or incorporating or putting obviously together a website or products and services. But not only that, I mean, where do you want that company to be a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 3 years from now? Because if you really want to turn it into business, you have to have some type of vision. And I think so many times that we miss that part of it.
You know what you just described was step one of the Clear Path to Cash. It's start with the end in mind. So, and we didn't even plan that. That wasn't even rehearsed or anything I got. That's good. Hey, Jeff, I want to thank you very much. Is there any place that, our listeners can go to see you, or in the future, if you got a domain, maybe we can kind of keep it up on the show notes. If somebody's listening to this a year from now, they can click on it.
Sure. Well, it'll be packmulebarbecue.com. But certainly I would invite everybody in San Antonio to come out to the barbecue cook-off, January the 24th and 25th. It's all over social media. It's a great event, fun event. And, they really, utilize that event to try and raise money, scholarship money and things like that for kids. So it's a good event from that standpoint. And actually, with one of our sponsors, we'll be raffling off a fire pit. Metal fire pit. So come by and get a ticket.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, I love the story behind the name Packmule, and I wish you the best of success. And I just want to remind everybody out there that they can still go to cashflowmike.com for any of the show notes, any questions about today's episode, just send them over to me. And again, you can subscribe on YouTube or iTunes or Google Play. And remember, hey, this is Cashflow Mike, and you've been listening to the Clear Path to Cash podcast. And just remember, don't be a dumb business owner.
Thank you. See you.